Warning. The following scenes may contain references to power pages and portals which some listeners may find disturbing, especially if you've struggled with poor training in the past.
Hey all, Franco Musso here. Yes, I've hacked your podcast feed. I held John and Heather hostage, but don't worry. I got my wires crossed and I'm actually paying them a small ransom in the form of sponsorship. Anyway, big announcement. I'm finally releasing my online Power Pages course. This has been 5+ years in the making. It's tried and tested on citizen devs and portal makers all around the world. It's a course I wish existed when I was getting started. It's practical, it's hands-on, and it's project-based, so you're not left wondering, how the f*** would this apply to the real world? I've built in battle-tested lessons I've learned from tens of successful portal projects across various industries, budgets, and geographies. And I've formulated the most efficient route from zero to heroic launch. The tools and techniques I've chosen to show you are all based on what has the most value to you, the learner, and to your customers, all in the most compressed timeline possible. Think 80-20, focusing on the techniques that punch above their weight and deliver the majority of results. You'll get video lessons, a repeatable framework, and some super helpful workbooks. I'll also throw in my decision flows. It's going to be the closest thing you can get to having an expert on hand or being able to peek over my shoulder while I work. Interested? Visit francomusso.com/power-pages-course and secure your spot today. Disclaimer, this course isn't for you if you prefer hours of slides, theory, and little to no action. You can now take your fingers out of your ears and enjoy the awesome that is Sprint Zero.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sprint Zero podcast. Today, we are joined by Bala. He's a technology leader with a sharp lens on innovation from cloud transformation and logistics platforms to applied AI and computer vision. Bala brings that rare mix of strategic thinking and practical execution, helping teams turn big ideas into real-world outcomes. Bala, it's great to have you on the Sprint Zero podcast, finally.
Hey, thank you.
Now, we've got a bit of history, haven't we? Because I think you were maybe the fifth person that was supposed to come on the podcast. And then one thing or another, it just never happened, did it? It was crazy. So sorry about that.
No problem. I'm so happy to be on the podcast and thanks for inviting me again and really good introduction. Thank you.
Thanks, man. No worries. And obviously, I'm joined by my absolute beautiful co-host, Heather Perriam. There she is. In all her glory.
Gosh, you're going to get my head so big. I won't fit in my office at the end of the day. Thank you, Don. That was a very nice intro.
Heather, what's that on your wall?
The hot pink theme?
Yeah. What's that?
So that is from the burlesque theater show. I went with a bunch of people from work and a girl bought a fan and it was back. Remember how hot it got in the summer and people didn't have air? And she bought this fan and I was like, okay, first of all, that looks fancy to have a fan and you're fanning yourself. And it was kind of cool looking, but then it was also really hot. I think that fan cost me 30 pounds. So it will be on my wall forever because I would never, they put you under duress. They make it so hot that then you're like, sure, I'll pay 30 pounds for a piece of paper. And then you get home and you're like, how did I do this? Like,
Lovely. Question for you both. How much traveling have you done this week?
This week, not much.
how far is Reading from Brixham? 200 miles, 160. Anyway, so I went from Reading and back yesterday.
That's crazy in a day.
I know. But then next week,
On a train.
I just love the train. What can I say? Can we just take a second? Bala, you don't have to agree with this, okay? But I'm going to make a bold statement. The cross-country train that goes from Plymouth to Edinburgh is the worst train in the country. So as long as I'm not on that train, I'm okay.
Bruh.
Never.
My God.
They never have enough coaches. I don't go all the way to Edinburgh, but I will take it to York. So they never have enough coaches. Standing room only. It's just miserable. And I want to share that. That's my bold statement.
Oh my God.
But
7 hours and 43 minutes to go. I couldn't think of anything worse.
look, I'm telling you, there's my bold statement of the day.
Very good. Bala, I'm going to come in with a really hectic question straight away, right? I know you're built for this. So what problem are you most excited to solve right now? And why does that matter to you?
I'm excited for this.
The biggest thing right now is a big push on agents. We are tagging any conversational experience as agent. The challenge that I have is adoption, building trust, because it's like multi-stakeholder problem. Like what works for me might not work for you. And obviously using AI and then having the compliance and the legal lens part of it makes it a little bit more trickier. You can build a RAG agent in a few minutes or an hour, but then after the demo, I often see business team or end user saying, I want it now. And when that now conversation comes in, that's where you add more system lenses and human-centered design, which slows the process, but it's exciting. You get to learn opportunity spaces, and you get to figure out how you can use technology to solve it. But not everyone has a similar mindset, or we just struggle to get over the line if you don't have the right mindset.
Yeah. The bit that I have problems with is how fast things are changing at the moment. It's just
Yeah.
insane. Like, I don't know if you've heard about like OpenClaw, for example. You heard
Yeah,
about
so funny.
Are you using that at all?
No, but I've used Opus, which is really good. I used to use Sonnet from Claude and now Opus. And Opus is basically brilliant. Some of the things that I've automated is on Gemini API. The boring stuff like documentation, I just upload a Mermaid file and it just creates me like system documentation, which I need not sit and break my head through.
It's funny that you say that because this past weekend, I decided to test Gemini out because somebody else told me that it's useful, that it can do diagrams better than some of the other models. I just thought I'd give it a try. I was writing a very big document, and if my team listens to this, they will attest to how cringe it is because I make very comprehensive documents. So sometimes 70, 80 pages to give this out. But I always like to put diagrams in there so people can get right to it. It did really good. It did really good. I was so shocked because I've tried it in other models and it's easier for me to just do the diagram myself. I'm like, whatever, it's not getting it, it's not understanding. But I will say Gemini did a really good job of just taking it, putting it together, and giving me what I was looking for.
I think that's the thing, right? It's working out because I use Copilot 365, Copilot Studio,
Yeah.
ChatGPT, Gemini, and I bounce things off each other because it's one better than one thing. Yeah. What's your Bala at the moment?
So M365 definitely, because all my work, confidential, grounding, everything is for anything that I write personal blogs, or if I want to explore anything, it's Gemini. My go-to platform is Gemini Pro because I've done text vectorization of like how I write my blog typically. Once I vectorized and embedded that, whenever I say this is the rough sketch of the blog that I want, I just feed to Gemini and it creates me the complete blog. And then I just basically fine tune and add demo. Like writing, John, I'm sure you agree, and even Heather, if you have a habit of writing and publishing an article every week, it takes a lot of time.
I'm struggling with blog writing because I definitely am over the point where I think AI is cheating and it's like augmenting. But the blog writing bit, I struggle with that one. I struggle with whether or not it's right to use AI when I'm talking about things like ADHD, mental health.
I've struggled with that too, John. And my poor blog is sitting there like, remember how you promised Heather you'd keep up with me and you wouldn't let ADHD win? And then I'm like, yes, I do remember. And it's like, so you haven't done that, Heather. Because it's hard for me sometimes to keep up with regular posting. I think that's a challenge a lot of us find.
Yeah. I've given up on that one.
But I don't want to post a bunch of crap. I don't want to just churn stuff out that doesn't add any value. That's the same as what everybody else is churning out. Because I'll say for me, AI has changed my life when it comes to how I do things because ADHD makes documentation and makes stuff like that really difficult for me to get completed. And to have AI in there to help me come up with words or help me get that starter for 10 is wonderful. But I'm with you, John. I don't know if I want to write something personal really about something that I feel passionate about. Maybe it can give us a start. It gives you that beginning.
Yeah. Off late, I've been using Notebook LLM from Google, which is also quite amazing. Don't you think, John?
Notebook LM is insane. I haven't used it actually for a while. So I was a bit late to the party when it came to Copilot. Not Copilot Studio, but M365 Copilot. I was a bit late to the party because there was so much hype about it. And when something's as hyped as that, I'm kind of like, really?
You're that guy. I'm not going to do it just because all of you guys are
Like
doing
Game
it.
of Thrones, for example. I reckon I'm the last person in the world that watched that.
I haven't watched it either.
Yeah.
It is very good. I've watched it twice now.
It's interesting that you say that because there is this question that I wanted to ask you, Bala, and it's in line with what John's saying about like the trends and everybody gets on board with it. And we hear a lot of use cases in our world, right? And a lot of people coming up. And I joke that what phrase does Heather say most during the week? That's not actually AI, that's an automation because not everybody understands what it is. What's an AI use case, Bala, that you've heard that sounds like it's impressive, but actually the ROI on it is not there?
It's very difficult to generalize because it depends on like the time and the time available for that use case. One observation that I had is when the Copilot was rolled out, everyone started recording the meeting and adding transcript to OneDrive and growing the storage space, thinking that at some point I'll go back to the recording and figure out. But now people have started realizing that Facilitator is much better tool where it can capture something and put it in loop rather than recording the whole session. Again, as more tools come into play, unless people explore and figure out what is good for them, it's like a black hole. It's the mindset. Like people should have the mindset to see, oh, this is new. Let me be a bit curious. Let me try this. Generally, the mindset is, oh, I have Copilot. Let me just record it. It's the community building as well, right? You have to tell, hey, this is a new thing. Have you tried it? Or maybe show them. One of the thing was like the Copilot video recording, which now I think Facilitator along with Loop does a brilliant job. I have gradually moved away from recording videos and transcript because of Facilitator.
Yes. Facilitator is really good.
It's even cheeky to say, hey, John, you're going out of topic, which is quite funny.
It is quite funny. And I quite like the timeline up at the top.
Love the
Exactly.
timeline.
When I saw it for the first time, I was like, oh, how do you do that? And then I realized it's that facilitator. What do you think most teams get wrong in AI adoption within the first 90 days?
It's the hype wagon. I think the ROI, people don't evaluate the ROI of use case. And I think for now, what LLMs have done over the past 3-4 years is it has made AI accessible for everything. What I mean by that is you can ask any question, you can give like, this is my data set. Can you create an AI model? Can you forecast? Whatever is the business problem that they're trying to solve. But the fact is, you need to think about, is that compute really needed for your use case? What is the ROI, as you highlighted, Heather? How many times the automation is going to be used? Just because I have the tool and I can use the tool doesn't mean that the tool is fit for every use case. I was reading the other week a study by MIT that 90 or 87% of agentic AI use case have failed. These numbers are fascinating, and I think as a leader or as someone who is passionate about responsible use of technology, we should probably put an evaluation lens way up rather than building demo and showing it to people and getting them excited.
I think so too, because sometimes in our company we say so what a lot, right? So when somebody gets really excited and is like, oh, we're going to do this, this, and this. So what? Why are you doing that? I think I've built some agents that have saved me so much time. So much time. But then it's kind of, are we using it in the right way? I have an agent that I can put, if anybody's worked in bids or done bids on public sector, right? Sometimes you have 20 documents that you have to look at. For ADHD people like me, that's a freaking nightmare. But I can run it through my agent. I can say, highlight the clinical risks, any other risks that are identified through there. Let me know. This agent now tell me, is it worth my time to deep dive into these documents? And maybe to come up with something, it'll say, this is a terrible fit for a Power Platform, and here's why. Then I can say, like, cool, now I don't have to read 20 documents. I think on a productivity level, those are really quick wins. And when people start with Copilot, get those quick wins in place. Think about something that takes you a long period of time that can help out with. But then when we're looking at those enterprise agents to do something, we've really got to think about, is that value going to be there? And are people going to actually utilize it? Obviously, I love AI and I love agents and they've changed my life. And I'm trying to remember the other day, what did I do before I had these agents that helped me out with so much stuff? John, don't you have a team of agents?
Yeah, there's a few things going on, to be honest. I kind of losing track. My OpenClaw instance is called Ratty Clawbot. And it's doing stuff.
Amazing.
So my daughter Tilly, her nickname is Ratty because she runs and scurries around doing everything. So I just thought that sounded like the right thing to call it. It's even got a logo. It's got a claw like a crab, and then a tail of a rat, and then a half rat crab face.
Freaking love it.
So, Bal, you're definitely a leader in this space. Also, I wanted to say, like, I've met you a couple of times now, and you are a really warm guy. You're a really good hugger as well. That's the other thing.
Are you a hugger?
Yeah, he's always a hugger.
Hold on, that's a future expectation, Bala. I want you to write that down. If you meet me at an event, because I'm a hugger.
If you're building a team where your primary focus is AI-centric development first,
Mhm.
And that has obviously changed in the last 2 or 3 years, right? What does that team makeup look like now compared to 2 or 3 years ago? What is the skill set you're looking for that would, first of all, that attracts the right people? Second of all, actually is what you want rather than any kind of fluff on a job advert?
That's a very deep question, John. Uh,
Yeah.
I don't want to reveal my age, but when I started
It's
coding 20 years ago, I basically had to wait for a printer on a dot matrix to even see my COBOL code because the
Yes.
runtime in COBOL was very difficult. The art of coding, because of Vibe and AI and all those stuff, is lost. The last blog that I wrote was all around, are we losing the plot? If you don't know how to write a code, you don't know what to ask. If you don't know what to ask, you're not going to get a good quality code. I'm more looking on like people who have experimented different coding languages so that they understand how machine learns or executes your task, whether it's object oriented, whether you have done Python, R, C sharp. I look into that because if they have done multiple languages, that means they understand or they have a better grip of asking the right question. And the second biggest thing is
Yes.
problem domain and problem solving space. If I'm looking someone in supply chain, I would basically probe around understanding like how much they contextually know about the domain. Because
Yeah.
if you don't give the context when you write a prompt, it's like garbage. But if you give the context, then the LLM models can really give you a really good answer to what you're trying to solve, whether it is creating use case stories, whether it is documenting specific process, whether it is code review. You don't give a context, it's just going to give a generic answer, right? One is like multi coding language, either hobby or experience. Even if it is someone saying, hey, I have a Raspberry Pi, over the weekend I do this, I'm happy with that person because I know he's going to try something which is closer to the
Yes.
machine.
When I think of bringing people on my team, it's more about how they think rather than what they know. Are you a guy who sits there on the weekend for fun and just tries something to see if it works? I think that's why I clicked with John, because John finds new and he's like, I gotta try it. We did that vibe coding session a couple months ago, and it was literally like, let's do this all together and learn.
Sorry, just for editing purposes, Lou, can you change my face to a magpie, please, momentarily? Thanks.
We do need a magpie. Absolutely. But if you're not excited about new things, and I thought everybody was, this is the weird thing, is I thought everybody was, but there are people who are not. They just want to stay. I won't give context because I don't want to out anybody. But I was participating in a meeting. We were talking about innovation and what we like about innovation. And it was the first time I sat with somebody who said, I don't understand why everybody's always talking about innovation. If it's not broke, don't fix it. We need to get off this innovation train. I thought I died inside. Like this part of me was just like, how do you say, let's
Jesus.
never innovate? It was just so weird. It's totally valid for them to feel that way, by the way. If this person hears me say that, I still adore you. And it's totally valid that that's your feelings. This is probably another Heathery campaign that I'm going to throw at you, Bala, because I want you to talk about or give your thoughts on how leaders should be thinking about data quality before they start thinking about models and solutions.
Yeah, the famous saying, garbage in, garbage out. So everything is data, and your models, whether you're building through classic models or using LLM to ground and provide something for you, should be contextually leveraged. And the way of context here is using data. And if you don't have a good data metrics, then you see, one thing I've observed using LLM over the past couple of years is it will always try to please you. It'll give
Mhm.
you more information. It'll be hallucinating, and you will feel good saying, hey, this is something cool. But if you don't, and the reason is because it's trained on data set that you don't even know. I classify automation or use of AI into two buckets. Personal productivity, don't care. You are not putting an enterprise in risk. If you are putting something at your own risk, you are liable. It's one person. And then you will think about like what is the impact? How will you face the consequences? One example is I have built an automation which goes through all my Google RSS feed. And basically, I do a weekly post on AI Bus. It runs on my Google automation and it's all scheduled. It goes through like top 6 news and then it just pings me the news and I just go through when I commute, right? This is a fantastic idea. And if someone from comms team is coming and asking me, can you do this? Can you automate that for supply chain? Of course I
Yeah.
can because you can use it. But my question to them is, what are you trying to solve first? What in supply chain do you want to know? You don't want to know about blockchain. The contextual awareness, if it is not there, then there is no point of putting all this automation at an enterprise. And that comes with data. Again, I'm not sure if I've given you a clear answer. I'm sorry because
I don't know.
it's all about
It's really good.
context. If
I
you
mean,
give me a
I just
scenario,
I just noticed because you talked about context, but you've talked about context on both sides of the fence, right? The client
Yeah.
needs
Yep.
context, and we as the people building things also need context. So, Bal, you know what's coming next. Now we'll get some music for this. When was
My
the
favorite
last
part.
time you felt uncomfortable, whether that was in or outside of work? And what did you do to address that? And what have you learned in that process?
this is a habit that I created. We all are emotional. And if you are emotionally attached to something, sometimes you might say or do things that you're not supposed to do. It might offend a lot of people. I often get into trouble because of that, because I just give a purist view of like, no, this is not should be done. One incident going back to my early career is we were doing some debugging on an assembler program, and I was telling them this is the issue, and it was ignored. So I had to write an email to my shift lead because I was in ops support. It was 3 a.m. in the morning. I just lost patience. And instead of writing the email to my ops lead, I ended up writing the email to my customers saying, I told you so. You didn't listen to me. We wasted a week of time.
Dying for you inside right here. I'm dying for you.
I had a really good mentor. He gave me a small tip. You are emotional on certain topics. So you basically try to address the concern or you try to bridge the gap immediately so that you finish the situation and you don't think about it. And that's my habit. So he gave me a small quick tip. In Outlook, you have a BCC button. Again, it's a configuration. You just go and set it up. So now, as a habit over last 15 years, the first thing I do is when I reply to an email, even before starting an email, I'll put some random text in BCC so that I don't end up sending the email.
Oh,
That's very clever.
that's a pro tip. I never thought of that.
And the
Yeah, that's
person.
really good. Oh wow, that's like one of the best filters ever.
John, if you get a squirrel project, we should have a page with like hot tips for ADHD because that's one that I
Yeah,
think we should
that's
all have.
great.
Obviously, even people without ADHD, but I just know for me, and I think John probably had the same thing. We just get so passionate, right? And we're like, I got to put this all out there. And then you push the button, and then you're like, oh shit. You just realize it, and it's too late. We talked about age earlier. The first time it happened to me, dial up modem, right? This guy really made me mad. I'm at home, and I meant to forward it from my friend. And let's just say I used colorful language to describe this person in my mind because I was a younger Heather and less mature. And then like I hit send and I was like, oh my gosh, I think it was on AOL at the time, so I couldn't even unsend it. But luckily my dial-up was so slow, I unplugged my cable.
That's great.
So that kids is how we had to handle this back in the old days, okay?
Amazing.
Luckily.
I don't know if you guys were around then, but it was quite a long time ago, like early 2000s, maybe like 2006, 2007. There was a text message service called All Questions Answered. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
It's called AQA, and it's a bit like talking to AI now, but very, very rudimentary. And you could say, what do you know about such and such? And it would charge you like £300 for a text message. Well, not £300, £1.50. And it would send it back to you, right? But what it was really weirdly good at is that you could say something like, tell me all about John Russell or tell me all about someone else. And it would come back with some information. So anyway, me and my housemate, we lived together with 4 people total, a couple, my other friend and me. And this other friend and me, we went to the pub. We'd had quite a few drinks and we were getting out of the house because the couple had been arguing and arguing and arguing. It went on and on and on, and it had been going on for days. Anyway, we got to the pub, we'd had a few drinks, and I went to text message AQA and I said, should X and Y still be together? But I sent it to my housemate. And I was like,
No.
oh,
Oh,
there's not
that's
really
very
any way
sad
to
for
get
you.
out of that. And then she replied, and she's like, what do you mean? Should we still be together? Bearing in mind they've been arguing solidly for 72 hours. And I was like, yeah, I meant to send that to someone else. And she goes, what do you mean you meant to send that to someone else? I was like,
That's when it was.
I was sending it to that all. What do you mean you sent it to all questions? Horrific.
You're so wholesome that, of course, you told the truth. I would have like probably come up with a bad lie because I don't lie well, but I would have been like,
Oh.
my dog got the phone and he must have sent this weird message to you. I'm so sorry.
Bal, thank you very much for coming on the show. You're like, apart from a couple of episodes, this is like the first
Whopper.
guest episode, I think, that we've done since we came back. So I really
Yeah.
appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And if you want to be on the show, please reach out via the form, which will be in a QR code at the bottom right-hand corner at some point. And wish you all a really good day. Thank you very much. Nice to have you all here.
Thank you.
All right. Love you. Bye.